Site engaged. Let's begin. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing? I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for joining us today. You'll notice there's only two folks on the stream today. Paula is unfortunately dealing with family matters, and she has to attend a celebration of life. So prayers for Paula and her family. They've had a few months of just some very difficult situations. So put a prayer out to Paula. Wish her the best. If you have her number, send her a text. Let her know that you're thinking about her. That would be greatly appreciated. I want to do an update and tell you guys about something that's going on with YouTube that some of you are probably rather frustrated about. And that is, if you look at the chat, you're going to see at and then whatever your official name is. So we're going to talk about vote for Pedro. Vote for Pedro 8944, right? Mike Noodle 100. They have removed temporarily, not in all cases, but in a majority of the cases, the ability to create names based off of your handle. This is a temporary thing. I don't know how long it's going to be going on, but it is something that it gives you opportunities right now to look at your official YouTube name. This can be problematic for some people because if your site name is still under your full name, when you type in chat, it's not going to come up as your pseudonym. It's going to actually come up as your normal name. They're doing this for a couple reasons. In my opinion, it's a good thing because, again, one thing that we run into, you guys have seen this in multiple streams, and that somebody comes in pretending to be somebody else and causes strife and chaos for other people. Now this actually shows the channel name. It's no longer one of these things where people can see just a pseudonym. And so in my opinion, it's a good thing. It's going to help us identify people who are trying to pretend to be somebody, especially if that person is a member of the community who's trying to stir shit up, which people do that. And so this is going to help us identify that pretty quickly. The other thing is if they do change their channel name, it always ties back to their main Google account, so you'll be able to find out whether or not they have done recent changes. You can always put in a request to Google if there's any kind of harassment. And so this is a good move, but it is going to be potentially problematic for some people. But if you want to learn how to tag somebody, here's a great way to learn. It's actually telling you what their official names are. So just FYI, a little bit of feedback for you, but just know that this is the way it is. If you want to have your official name be your other name, then again, go into your settings and set it up accordingly. All righty. Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Good morning. Wonderful.
Farm Dog is headed to a coin show. Outstanding. Do me a favor.
Oh, show off.
Find me. I'm going to actually send you a message. I'm looking for a very specific coin. If you happen to find it, let me know. I'll send you the money. You can buy it and send it. And he's like, they ain't going freaking shopping for you, man. What the?
I'm going shopping for me.
I'm just picking on Farm Dog because he's going to a coin shop and I'm not. So, or coin show. He's like, send it. I'll do it. I know you would, man. I am absolutely just joking with you. I'll send you an email though.
Just in case.
Just in case, yeah. Well, no, it's a 2-cent piece. It's one of the coronets from like 1849 or something like that. It's one of 3 coins I need to finish my typeset album. So I've been looking for that, and they're fairly expensive. All right, well, let's do the due diligence and say hi to everybody. Thank you so much for coming in. I definitely appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with us on the weekend. So Eric, again, as always, thanks for coming up. I appreciate you hanging out with me today.
Anytime. I love it. I look forward to it every weekend.
Freaking awesome is freaking awesome. He has liked and shared already, so thank you so much for doing that. Jackalope Herdmaster is a member of the channel. Thank you so much for doing that. And again, I already told you guys about Paula. She won't be here because of that celebration of life. Mark the Quahog Stacker is in chat. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Kinamine is here, as well as Siren. Now, Siren, you'll see her full name, Siren Silverstash. She goes by Siren. So again, this is another one of those where you're going to see the full channel name. Kin of mine, Woodsy, how you doing? Woodsy, thank you so much for being a channel member. Much appreciated. Greatly appreciate the support there. Let's see who else we got going on here. We have Check Stacker. What's up, Check? Check will actually be pretty close to where I live in a few weeks. And when he's here, I'm going to reach out. We're going to try and connect. He's going to be up near Austin, Texas. I live near San Antonio. About a 45, 50-minute drive to where he's going to be. So hopefully we get to connect and kind of hang out and visit. That would be extremely cool. Vote for Pedro, my brother from another mother, is in chat. What's up, bud? How you doing? Thank you for being here. Appreciate all your support. The one and only Mike Nodelman, Coin Show podcast, key purveyor of coins, Harlan J. Burke. Thank you for being here. The counterfeit extraordinaire. He is, I should say that wrong, the counterfeit identifier extraordinaire. Let's give you the proper title. Mr. Jack Riley is in the house. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Jeff Davis. What's up, brother? Thank you guys for coming in and hanging out. I definitely appreciate you all being here. All right. If I have missed you, I do apologize. At password 68, what's going on? I don't know who you are, but hopefully that's not your password. Faith of an Indian, what's up? This is a coin collecting channel. We talk about numismatics, varieties. Today, we're going to be talking about a very specific part of the hobby, and it's regarding 3 particular years of coins that came, or of bills that came out, called the Educational Series. You're in vertical mode. You'll see these various bills cycling through. These are the various bills that have happened throughout U.S. history. We're going to be talking about 3 specifically today. Talking about the history and some of the amazing stuff that has come out of those. Mike Noodle, speaking of stuff, I saw a really cool set of 1808 to 1810 $5 gold. Ooh, wow.
Can you imagine? That would be awesome.
He
sees all the cool stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at where he works, man.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on.
That being said, about these dollars, I actually handled and got to check out the finest known 3-bill set of these at the fun show. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And they are beautiful bills.
You know what I got to do? I got to play with mulch.
There you go. So, but now you all have my knowledge on these bills because they're beautiful, and I saw a beautiful set of them.
Yeah, this is that's really cool. I'd like to see. Hopefully, you guys are going to do a set on that. That'd be really cool. Are they Delanega? No, that's before Delanega and Charlotte. So that'd have to be those. It'd have to be Philly coins. Very cool. Very, very cool. And you get to see, Mike and Matt get to see some amazing stuff. You know what? I mean, of course, working in coin shops and stuff like that, you get to see some amazing stuff. But
holds his cards close to his chest, though. He doesn't come onto the podcast and say, I looked at this weekend. But I can imagine. I have never seen an 1808, 1810.
Well, but they do the what is the coolest thing that I have, or the cool thing? You know,
I do see that, and actually, that's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and sometimes they have some things that are like, oh, that's nice, and other times it's like, holy cow. You know, it's especially like, when they have these really neat things that come across.
That's my thing with the Ancient Coin podcast is the old Greek gold, and some of it is just amazing. I just drool over it. It's just like I can't imagine it.
Devolio, you can send me an email, frostbitecoins@gmail.com. It's here, let me put this in real quick. It's just my channel name. You can send me an email. I'm not sure what you want, or if you need to let's try that again. If you want to send something to me, or you want to just communicate or show me something, send me a photo, whatnot, send me an email at that, then we can communicate there. But other than that, no, I don't have any Yeah, I don't tend to keep people's information unless I communicate with them frequently, because I don't want to be responsible for security leaks and stuff like that. I don't
We use
maintain that kind of stuff.
we use two cans in a very long string.
You and I?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that Mike, that is not easy for me to say. Uh, um, I worked very hard yesterday, and I woke up and I was just like, wow, I'm getting
Wait till you
old.
get older yet. The
Yeah, it's
older you
like I'm
get, those days kill you.
I'm getting older. Like holy cow! So I'm a little stiff, and so I'm actually sitting up against a heating pad this morning with my lower
I
back.
mean, it's better than the alternative, but yeah,
I
it's
probably
tough.
moved 400 pound of rock and maybe 25 bags of red cedar mulch. So
See, most of the people know what two cans in a long string means, but I wonder how many in the chat don't know what that means.
I'm sure there are probably a few of them.
That's
Yeah,
that's right, Mike.
that's exactly right. That is absolutely correct. Um, William, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you subscribing. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's dig into this. The educational series is something that I want to talk about. This is something that, as we've gone through and talked about various uh, uh, coins and uh, things of that nature, I've asked you guys, do me a favor, please reach out to me and let me know if there's something that you want to hear about. I will do the research, but I want to clarify up front. Hey, Big Apple, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Hey, THS, how are you? I want to be very clear about something when we talk about ancients or when we talk about bills. I know very, very little about these. Everything that I've done has been a couple weeks worth of research to provide you some decent content. There are other people out there. Blue Ridge Silverhound probably knows way more than me in this. Mike Nodelman, I'm sure that they have their team of numismatic folks that focus specifically on old U.S. currency. And again, I'm not that person. I don't mind doing this. I love learning stuff. I found out a lot of cool information about these things. But the information I'm going to give you is fairly straight up. It's going to be one of those things where I'm going to basically tell you what the bills were, why they were there. A lot of people don't realize that Mike is the currency department.
go.
Outstanding. So,
Get
well,
him
we
up
have
here.
some additional information. And Mike, you know you have a standing invitation. You want to come up anytime, you're more than welcome. Big Apple Stacker is the paper man. That is true. He loves his paper, and I'm sure he has some representation of these in one fashion or another. Big Apple has a really cool collection of currency. Very nice currency, by the way. All right, so let's kind of dig into this with that statement being made up front. The thing that I really like about these is this was a time where people could imagine art in your pocket. It was a time for national pride. It was a time where we celebrated artistic values. And when you look at the introduction of this 1896 note called the Educational Series, one of the things that really kind of stands out is the elegance of the design, the actual look and feel of the notes and what happened during that time frame. And I'm going to share a photo with you really quick. And actually, I'm going to share my entire screen so you can see this. And we're going to talk, I'm going to kind of go in order. And we're looking at the $1 note. Now, the $1 note is fabulous. We'll zoom in here and show you kind of what's happening here. But these are just phenomenal pieces. They're absolutely gorgeous. And when you look at the details, when you look at the design, these are very distinct from a lot of the other bills that you're going to see. They had a very central image that was adorned to some sort of allegorical title. In this particular case, this one was History Instructing Youth. This is where they get the educational series. But as you look at this, one thing that you'll notice in these particular bills is the elegance of the detail. And I don't just mean they're nice. There are other bills that are really nice. Later on, Eric and I are going to talk about the Indian head, $5 that took over with in 1899. The Black Eagle. A lot of people know about the Eagle dollar note, right? And the one with George Washington, the first George Washington note, and things like that. So we're going to see some other notes that were absolutely beautiful. But when we're looking at this particular one, again, what was the purpose behind the $1 note? So let's kind of talk about this $1 note. Let's talk about what happened, why they created it, and then again, we'll talk about the unfinished plan, as it were, and then we'll wrap it up with some of the details about the symphony of its creation and what caused this to go south. If you've watched the video that I created earlier this week as a kind of a teaser to this, then you'll know that, it died because of a very specific reason. If you haven't seen that video, then you can go back later. I always create one to make sure that people kind of have an understanding of what we're going to go into a little bit more in depth. All right, so let's dig in. So the one silver certificate is probably what they call the icon of the series. And this was because this is the one that was inspired the name, the educational series, because again, its name is History Instructing Youth. On the left-hand side of this, you're going to see this woman, and she is the person that is personifying, I hate that word, personifying history, depicting sitting with a young boy who is youth and pointing her arm wrapped around the gesture, pointing at the history, showing the book, basically showing the display of the words of the Constitution that are displayed on the book in front of them. Now, why is this so important? Because the purpose for this was the highlight of the Constitution's foundational role in American history and education. We don't really see this much anymore, but back then, the prominent piece of American history was the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the foundation of the United States, its history, its education, the things that happened, the good, the bad, the ugly. And if you look at the background, obviously you're going to see things like the Washington, D.C. Landmarks. You're going to see the monument there. You're going to see the Capitol building. And these, again, were there to reinforce government context within the note. So it's a very important role talking about the history. Now, there's more meanings. There's more things. If you listen to some other videos where they actually talk about why the artist generated these, there are a bunch of different people that were engaged in this. And you look at the people who had their hand in the design and who had their ideas, their values, their moral statutes. And these people were people throughout history that were engaged in the foundation of our nation. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Fulton, Ulysses S. Grant. And these people were primarily chosen to discuss either their artistic, their cultural, their scientific achievements in the hope that we would continue to have a nation based on education of not only who they are, but the political history. Okay, so that $1 note serves as a foundational statement of the history and the education of the United States and its educational mission, linking the historical knowledge and the foundational document to our nation's progress. And again, foundation, history instructing youth. It wasn't just a description. It was a very clear delineation of our intent, what we wanted as a nation during this time frame. Very important. As we go to the next bill, this is this is not the same one. This is the, I think I've got a little bit of a delay here. Is that showing up as the $2 note or what's happening?
I see the $1 still.
Why is that doing that?
There's a different $1 bill.
Okay, so it's changing. I got a little bit of a lag over here. I apologize. This is not part of the series. Okay, this is actually 1856. This came beforehand. And why do I show this? Well, because what is important in understanding this, let me clear my throat. Hold on just a second. What's important in understanding this is a lot of people are like, well, wasn't that the intent of all the bills? And the answer is no. This one was the representation of somebody, the iconography identifying Martha Washington, a key person in history, but it was just a nice little artist piece. The educational series was very specifically tuned or attuned to a specific mission within the United States goal to educate. Now, as we look at this next one, and this is a really neat piece. This is the $2 silver certificate. And in this particular one, again, we're looking 1896 to 1898. And this one is, again, you have that allegorical figure, which represents the science of our nation. We're talking about the Industrial Revolution. And we're talking specifically about steam and electricity and how they interflicted with the commerce and the manufacturing basis of the United States. What made us powerhouses in the U.S.? And there are two figures that are depicted on this. And if you look at the back, you're going to see those two figures. Those two figures represent one steam and then the other one specifically looking at the power of electricity. Now, who are these people? Robert Fulton and Samuel Morse. Now, these are the pioneers of the steamboat and the telegraph technology. You'll know Morse by Morse code. And again, that was the telegraph. That was the person who created that. Those were electrical signals and impulses that were sent across a wire. It was a way to establish communication very rapidly. In fact, so rapidly and so effectively that it almost wiped out major aspects of information and transportation information through things like the Pony Express and some of the ways in which Wells Fargo would send couriers. Now, they maintained and they adapted and became more financial-based institutions, but they initially had their starts with communication. But these two people were brought back to this particular one again for the celebration of things like the steamboat. And again, their presence directly reinforced not only the themes of steam and electricity, but actually were designed to kind of help people understand a couple items that were really important. Now, on the back of this note, you'll see these two, but the people who developed this were master engravers. In this particular case, Smiley, as Eric likes to call him, but it's Smiley. And then Thomas F. Morse. They designed the central frame and the background on the front. And then they also engraved and designed the back. Or Charles Schleck was the primary engraver for things like the border. Lorenzo Hatch engraved the portraits of the Fultons, the vignettes that are on the reverse. And so there were a number of people engaged in this. As Eric and I were talking just before the stream started, there were, I think, 4 or 5 people engaged in this, but it's only accredited. If you go look at it, most of the times you're only going to see the accreditation of 2 people, but there were multiple people engaged in this. Now, here is where we find out that the actual intent of this series was to go on farther than just 3 notes. And why do we know that? Well, because Blashfield, who designed the note, was originally intended to design this as well as the $50 denomination. Now, he had voiced his concerns to the Bureau, who was Claude Johnson. They were the chief of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing at the time, that the complexity of some of the designs would cause some issues with the integrity of the pieces that were being utilized to lay the image on the paper. But there were also things about the ink that they were utilizing. Some of the adaptations needed to be done for some of the designs. And this bill is the one that really started kind of some internal conflict that would happen between the designers and the actual BEP, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. Now, if you guys know anything about numismatic history, this is nothing new. From the dawn of our coinage, there have been complaints and arguments between the artists, between the people who were the engravers, and between the people who actually did the minting or the stamping or the printing of the actual monetary element. This is nothing new. So conflict in this happens. We had conflicts between the chief engravers of the mint. We had issues between Morgan and the what's his name? Oh, I can't forget who had the issue with Morgan and somebody else constantly fought. I just went blank. I lost his name. There were people. My favorite designer, Christian Gobrecht, had quite a few discrepancies. Barber, there you go. Thanks, bud. Morgan and Barber had massive issues regarding.
Barber had issues with everybody.
Well, Barber, yeah, that's true. But it's one of those things where this is nothing new, right? We've seen this for a long time, and there's a lot of issues that have happened through here. But even the chief engravers, the people that were in charge of the mint, or the people that were in charge in this particular case, Claude Johnson, who was the secretary, the bureau chief, was like, well, we understand, but this is what we want. This is what we really want to see. And so as they started to do this was the bill that really started some contentious relationships regarding the particular series and some of the issues that they had. Now, the points were brought to their attention were key points, and they were actually very important points. And while the notes are phenomenally beautiful, there were problems, and they still maintain this. And Mike can probably talk a little bit more about this, and he may want to actually go into in chat if he wants to talk about any of that. There were major issues with this bill and smudging, where having really good qualities of ink actually caused, because of the heavy dark colors that they were used and the contrasting colors that were there. Again, if you look at this, you're going to notice that there were multiple levels of ink, and in some cases it's very, very, very dark. And that heavy use of that dark ink was really prone to smudging. And so they wanted to lighten and change up some of these to have kind of a more of the if you look at the reverse, you'll see that standard US money green color that we always utilized. They wanted to engage a little bit more of that standard color, because that was proven, it was tried, it was true, and they didn't have issues with the ink smudging and the problems. But again, there were internal frictions that just happened because the artist felt compelled to not compromise their image or their vision of the note. But again, these issues were slowing production, and the general sense just had a massive dissatisfaction across the entire creative process. And the artists really got really sour with this particular one. And the last note, and in my personal opinion, the most beautiful of the notes, and that is the $5 note. Now I'm going to zoom into this a little bit and bring this down, because the design element on this particular coin, or this particular bill, is phenomenal. The quality of this, the design, the intricate details, this is my favorite one of the three. It's just a gorgeous piece. But this is the one that was the controversial climax of the three. And actually, it was this particular note that caused public outcry and eventually would cause this series to plummet. This this bill was called Electricity Presenting Light to the World, also known as Electricity as the Dominant Force. And that was because of the advent and the use of electricity and some of the people that were coming to the United States to really get electricity to land and take hold. And the U.S. was the center point of one of those. We had the bright light bulb up at the top. You'll see that right in the top center, that light bulb shedding light on a national influence. You look at the powerful representation of the figure. You see the sounding of a nation coming into its own. You see the horses, the stallions there with the guy holding the electricity bolt that is then tethered and tied to the light bulb producing that light. You see that beautiful contrast in the red seal that kind of stands out. It's absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous note, and it's just phenomenal. But again, this one was highly prone, not as much as the $2 bill, but this one was still highly prone to the potential smudging because of all the heavy laden black that's done within the wings and the clothing of the figures that are here. But why did they do this? Well, I don't know if you can see my little pointer on the screen, but I have my hand over something. Actually, I don't think you can see that here. Yeah, there you go. You see my hand on an inappropriate portion. I'm covering that up. You shouldn't be able to see that. It was the bare breast. Say again?
There's more to look at.
Oh, yeah, there's other things around that you can see. But again, it was the public nudity. Now, this isn't the first time we would see public outcry because they thought that the design elements on something were bad. We look at the flowing hair. The flowing hair, people didn't like that coin. You know that? They thought the hair was too wildly. They thought that
was standing Liberty quarters.
Oh yeah, 1916 SLQs, right?
Yeah.
And so this isn't the first time, nor would it be the last time that there would be public outcry against public nudity or the showing of breast or something on a note or a coin. And so this is just one of the things that secured the downfall of this. Now, what I like about this particular one is that when you look at this, there's a issue with the U.S. at the time, still being fledgling, utilizing another ideal, another construct, another nation, another world power, and that was the Roman nation. Our forefathers really utilized some of the governing bodies of a republic, the Roman Republic, to be specific. And there were a lot of artistic things that came from Europe during this time frame where they embodied a lot of that allegorical figure, right? We talk about the allegories. We talk about, German allegories. We talk about Roman allegories. We talk about the Greek allegories. These were those major figures, the goddess of love, Jupiter. In this particular case, it is Jupiter who symbolizes raw energy. And you look at fame with the trumpet, the representation of nations, growth, to be renowned. Peace, right? The symbol one, representing the gentle dove there on the left-hand side, or on your screen. It's the right-hand side of the coin, or the bill, excuse me. But these were all glimpses into deities and relations and ties to various Roman history and various Roman gods. Why was that? Well, even in our coinage, we were including things like the laurel, right? The laurel, the depiction of strength, the depiction of freedom, the depiction, you talk about the Olympics, and they still use laurel and stuff like that in their design, because it symbolized victory, it symbolized strength and power. It was that Roman ideal. They didn't wear a crown when Julius Caesar came into power. It was the laurel. I had a good friend of mine that I was introduced to on a trip to Europe, and he was like, Julius Caesar is the most famous JC. The other guy comes in a good second, and of course, that's a joke, and if you don't, you understand what that is. But again, it's one of those things where there's a lot of insight to our nation's tie to that Roman, that kind of foundational concept, the leadership construct that was founded there in the Roman Republic. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this, we are not a democracy. We are a foundational republic. We're a democratic republic. We're founded on the ideals of a body electing people who elect that stand in place for us. And then we elect a leader. That leader is balanced by checks and balances, legislative, judicial, and legislative, executive, and judicial branches, right? We have that balance of power there. It is not a rule by the mob. It is not one of these things. It is very specifically and was designed for a reason. And again, when we look at the educational series, when we look at this particular series of notes, Our founding fathers left the Constitution open because they knew that they didn't have all the answers, and they knew our society was going to change over time, and they knew they needed to adapt it. But why did they know that? Because they had seen great examples of this, and they understood history, and they were proponents of history. They knew we're a founding nation, and we watched the fall of Rome. We've watched the fall of Greece. We've watched the things that happened. And if we're not careful, and if we don't put these things in place, if we don't educate our society, we are going to run into some of the same situations. And their foreknowledge was amazing, because if you look at where we're at, we see this exact same thing. Eric just gifted 5 memberships. Thanks so much, Eric. I appreciate your support. PHS, Acadian, Mike Schleiz, Matt Winch, you all were gifted. Great. Brenda Shank also received one. You guys, please make sure you're sending out a thank you to Eric. Eric, I appreciate the support, brother. I really do. So again, when we're looking at this, it's important to understand why they designed this. Now, I'm going to go to the back of this particular bill, and we're going to look at 2 individual faces. Now, I'm going to leave this question opened up. No wonder Pops hid his money under the mattress. Yeah, no joke. I'm going to open this up to chat. Who knows who these people are? Okay. I'm not going to, and Eric, if you'd be so good as to not respond. Who are these 2 people? Do you guys recognize these people? These are prominent Civil War heroes. They are people who had a very distinctive role and position inside the United States, the foundation of the United States, during a very tumultuous time in our history. But does anybody know who they are? I know the guy on the left. We'll put the name in. Freaking awesome. All right. David says, I recognize Grant. Ulysses S. Grant. Absolutely. Not only was he... Say again?
Says the other one's probably going to be tough from a picture.
Yeah, and unless you really know... I vote for Pedro. Daryl Hall and John Oates. That's awesome, dude. That's funny. A lot of people may not know who the other person is. And again, if you don't really study Civil War history, you probably won't know who this general is. But I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to kind of look at that. We have people in our midst right now who love history. And believe it or not, there are, yeah, see, now we're getting into the famous duos. Now we got the Smothers Brothers up there. No, it's not Laurel and Hardy. Let me go ahead and knock that one out too.
They weren't born. Well, they probably were born.
Although Laurel and Hardy might be befitting. Sheridan, there you go. General Philip Sheridan. Now, what's really cool about this, and I like this central ornate winged figure above in the upper center. The shield containing the V. Now, the V isn't for victory. The V actually stands for domination. It's one of the central vignette designs that was done by Sherlaw. And when confronted with that, it's like, why do we have victory? And it's not actually victory. It's the denomination. It's the $5 piece. It's not victory. We're not celebrating the winner of the Civil War. That's not what this means. It's actually just the 5. It's the Roman numeral 5, and it goes back to the time where we talked about, our understanding and our love for the Roman history. Right. This is the Roman numeral V. It stands for 5, and so that's what the V is for. A lot of people were complaining. Because they were like, hey, this is again controversial, because why are they putting V for victory in here? It shouldn't be, but it just stands for the denomination. The vignette of these were designed by William Sherlaw, and he, an amazing engraver, painter, did a lot of murals along with work with Smiley and Thomas Morris, who really did some amazing jobs. Now, Morris did the designs around the borders of most of these 3 bills. He did other intricate design and plant life and things of that nature throughout. So all the really, really, really intricate denominations were done by, or the additions, not denominations, excuse me, additions were done by Thomas Morris. But again, when you look at the statues or the vignettes there, Lorenzo Hatch was the one who engraved Grant and Sheridan. But again, to go back through, this is the reason, the public nudity, the display. This is why we lost these particular bills. They just didn't like it. They thought that we're looking at, high society. When you're looking at the $5 denomination, again, the poor didn't have these things. These were done by a lot of the elite and the high society ladies in Boston campaign to have the bill banned by bankers. And the historical context of that was the phrase banned in Boston. And because of this public outcry and the clash between what we would call artistic expression and the social normative, the values of the time, who won? Well, the people with money, right? Because they said that they were not going to carry it, they were not going to trade it, they were not going to do anything. And people follow power. And so obviously the nation started to take their side, obviously sensitive to moral sensibilities again in this time frame. This was a big deal, and they took it accordingly. And so the criticism became more widespread, and then they decided in 1897 that we were not going to do this. And when George Lyman Gage, took office, and he was in line with the ladies of Boston and said that he was critical of this, actually quite openly critical of the educational series. Stated in a meeting with his superiors that the abandonment of the educational series was because we cannot have future notes designed by painters. It's impractical. We need clearly identifiable, practically clear and simple, straightforward designs. We don't need any of this artistic stuff on our bills. We just need it to represent our nation. And so if you want to know why our bills look as craptastic as they do, it's because of a man by the name of Lyman J. Gage. J. Gage is the one who basically said, we're going to phase out this artist stuff. They already accepted some of the ones that were there. I'm going to show you a couple of these other ones here as we move forward. This one in particular, which is the $5 denomination that took place 1899, which is the only one of the Indian. This is one of the last really ornate designed bills that came from it. And then from there on out, they just got worse. But again, if you want to know why we did this, the person responsible for the crapness of our currency after 1900 or something like that, the person's name was Lyman J. Gage. Well, the beauties definitely are still around, right? So we have people that do this despite what happens. They are listed in the 100 greatest currency notes. If you look at some of these in the scarcity or the rarity scale, if you're looking at the numismatic rankings for this, the $1 educational note is ranked at number 7. And when you're talking about the top 100, we're talking about number 7, obviously being top 10, right? This is a highly desirable one. Let me get back to this one again. So we're talking about this one right here. This bill was the one that was the listed as number 7 in the top 100. And then again, I've got a little bit of lag, so I apologize for the lag on the screen. But then when we come back under and we look at the next one in here, that's even better. It is without a doubt what I would classify as my favorite, and that is the $5 note. And this one comes in ranked at around number 5 in the top 100. So again, if you're looking at getting one of these, you can get them. But if you're looking at getting these in any kind of nice condition, and Mike, you probably have better reference points as to some of the cost. Big Apple Stackers here, I'm sure he's watching it. He probably has his book out.
Like entry level on all the bills, the one is like 300, the two is like 600, and the 5 is like 1,000. That's like worn bills.
Yeah, and so you're going to be paying a statistically significant amount of money.
Yeah, for premium quality, they're big money.
Yeah, and so if you want one of these, they're going to be, I mean, you can get one, but just understand what you're going to be paying for. And this is where we've talked a lot about this in the last couple weeks, and I want to reiterate this a bunch. And the reason that I'm doing this, I know you're like, oh my God, Frosty's a broken record when it comes to this. But as you look at the advertisements that come out, and Jack Riley's in here, we've seen this a lot with eBay. Mike Noodle has been really great to talk about this. I know him and Matt have talked about this in the Coin Show podcast. But the rarity of things, and people talk about rare. But people don't really even understand what rare means. This is a scarce note, especially when you're looking at higher grades. Okay, the higher the grade, the scarcer the note's going to become. But these are not rare. There were millions and millions and millions of these produced. They're not rare. Now, what is rare is to find one in top conditions, right? So your 3 or 4 in the top grades, they're going to be rare because of the condition that they're in. But the bills themselves are not rare. These are more scarce. And why are they scarce? Well, they're scarce because people have held these and they've held on to them. But you see a lot of people utilize the term rare as a manipulation to get you to think that it's something that you got to have. It's a FOMO tool. It's a trick of the mind. It's the manipulation of words to sell you something that really doesn't mean jack crap. Okay. And I really want to drive that home, because if you understand that anything, most of you, I say most of you, there are some people in this stream, or there may be people watch the video who this applies as an exception to, but most of you will never have the opportunity to really get or own a rare coin because of value limitations and restrictions. So anybody who comes back and tells you that it's rare is probably trying to sell you something. It's kind of like the guy who says, trust me, right? Trust me, in the old adage of sales always was a red flag. It was that thing that made you sit back and go, oh, I don't like this. But scarce is a better word. And so when you're looking at this, when you're looking at numismatic channels, say again?
Desirable. It's a desirable, piece of currency.
Yeah. And so understand the difference. Again, I talk about this. You guys can go back. You can look at the little streams. You can look at the chats. You can look at the shorts. We talk about the Eagle Privy on this 500,000 mintage bullion coin. It's not rare, folks. It's not rare. Period. End of story. I don't give a rat's ass what anybody thinks. It's not rare. There's 500,000 of them. It's not even a small mintage. Now, that might be the lowest mintage, but it doesn't mean it's rare, right? So when you see that term rare, be leery, because people will utilize that to manipulate you into buying something, because what they want you to do is they want you to do a reaction. They want to get you emotionally attached to something that you're trying to buy, to get you to manipulate you into doing something that they want you to do. So be very careful with that. It's a tactic. It's a tool used in sales. And I want you all to understand that if you know the wording and you know what the words mean, you can look at a lot of the ads that are out there and go, oh yeah, this is not for me.
And that $5 Indian is a great example of such language. they made millions of them.
Yeah.
But yet they're scarce because not many of them survived. Like Azer said, they wear easy. So they wore those bills out. A lot of them are just gone through attrition. So now there's I would say that, what they say, there's under 12,000 remaining out of 566 million. And to put it in perspective, what was it? The population of the United States was 74 million at the time. And they made 566 million $5 bills.
Yeah. Yeah. And so again, understand the difference between scarcity and rare. It's going to save you a lot of money. Certain die varieties are legitimately rare, but the date is so, but again, you're talking about specifics, right? And this is where you have to know. This is in the conversation that I had Thursday night when Eric was like, holy cow, dude, what happened to you? Why were you, what was the phrase that you used?
I text you because you were in the middle of the night. He says, what, you pee the bed and do a stream?
Oh yeah, there you go. Pee the bed. I was like, what the
And
hell
it's
are
a
you talking
figure of
about? Pee the
speech.
bed. I've never heard that figure of speech before.
Yeah, it's a figure of speech in the Midwest. That means you got up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. And so I got online and I was talking about some questions that people had asked. And one of the things was, grading. Well, in grading, it's not so much as just knowing the coin, right? Morgan dollars, great. But in actual honesty, to look at a Morgan dollar means you have to know the intricacies of each year, not just the run of the coin. You have to know the intricacies of each year because some years had really great strikes across the board. Some years didn't. Some years the strikes sucked, right? We frequently talk about the Lincoln Cent and 26S, right? What happens in the really, really, really high grades? Well, the value becomes way more than the 1909 SVDB. And so it's important that you understand those intricacies. It's important that you understand what happens inside each of those. And again, I don't know bills. I can't tell you what the run of this one is. I can't tell you what to look for errors. I can do some research and figure it out, just like I did with the history of this and looking at multiple resources. And I can report back to you my findings, which is what I just did with the educational series. But if you want to know notes, then I need to do some research and I need to get some people on and we can actually dig in and talk about a couple of the notes. Because I'm not that person to talk about that. I just don't have that knowledge. But I'm going to tell you, when you look at some of these notes, they're phenomenal. This is a great example of this. I love this as, when we look at the year 1899, this is the first dollar, or the first $2. This is the one that replaced that. It's a nice piece. It's pretty, but it's nowhere near like that educational series was. The educational series was truly a remarkable run of notes. It was ecstatic. And if you're looking in vertical mode, you're going to see the $2 bills side by side, like you did for just a minute. And you look at the intricacies of the educational series versus this one. It's amazing, absolutely phenomenal to look at the difference and see, what happened. And again, as we get on longer and longer and longer, and the quality of the notes just falls through the floor. This is a result of the man winning. Well, it is. But again, here's we see this even in today. The CCAC, when you're looking at the people who actually meet together in a board to talk about what coin is going to be on a given year's denomination. So for instance, when we look at the semi-quincentennial, the CCAC has met a number of times and they've talked about this stuff. And one of the major conversations that they have, Eric, and I'll let you do this, is this is one of the things that you're like, I hear this all the time. Yeah. One of the main topics is what?
Homeland security.
Yeah.
Is it going to cause civil unrest?
Yeah. And so why is that? Well, because of what we see here. This is nothing new, folks, right? And we have to look at those things and go, because of the few right? And this happens in multiple things because of the few, the massive are affected. Again, a single rotten apple can ruin a bushel, right? You leave it in long enough, you don't pull it out, you don't weed that out, you can potentially ruin the bushel of apples. And the same thing happened here. It's just that the desires of a few actually ruined it for the rest of the people. Now, when we talk about moral obligation during that time frame, the moral statute in the 1800s was way different than 2025. A lot of this stuff was sacrilegious. Our nation had a more fervent appeal towards religious ideology. Now it's still there, but not nearly as much, and definitely not as prevalent in the government. So when you look at some of these things, it was totally different. And so there will always be situations where they have to ask that question: is what we have, is what we're designing going to cause issues? And they have to take this into consideration, because again, you're talking about minting, a couple 100 million coins or, $1 billion bills. You've got to make sure that this isn't going to be something that disrupts commerce. You got to make sure that it's not going to be something that disrupts the government. It's got to make sure that it's not going to cause issues. And so there's a lot of these things where you don't care about the art. They just care about functionality, feasibility, recognizability. And then once the artists are done, then all the people come through and say, okay, well, let's talk about some security features. Let's take this piece out because it'll be too easy to replicate. Let's change this and let's add this here. And then it goes to the board, and then the board rips it apart. And so you're going to always have this controversy between the artist, the sculptors, and the people who are actually minting or printing the coins. Because, some things are really nice when they're done on a piece of paper, and the medallic artists don't see it the same, and they don't lay out the same. And then when they go to print it or they go to mint it, the devices don't always lay out right. And so this is something we're always going to face. It's always going to be there. We're always going to see the problem with this. And so it's never going to go away. It just always going to go away. Mike has said, if you want any answers to currency questions, you're always welcome to email or call him at the shop as yours. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Mike, let's coordinate a time and we'll have another discussion about currency, a Q&A. We could do it tomorrow if you want to do it tomorrow. I have an idea for something, but let's find a time and let's do a currency session if you're up for it. And then we can have people do that kind of stuff. Love to. Perfect. Because again, I'm not the person to do this. Paula has stated very clearly that she's not the person to do it. And I know Eric has been, oh man, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. I know you were under the weather for quite some time. But
Still
yeah,
sick.
I mean,
I'm sorry to hear that, Mike. Didn't get that COVID that's going around, did you?
maybe next week. Yeah, no hurries. No hurries at all, brother. Like no rush at all. I did pull out some additional notes that I like. I'm a big fan of Lincoln. And I do like this note. And you see a lot of the intricate borders. Again, this is Miller. When you look at the person who did this, Thomas did an amazing job with his borders. And then we got this one. Woohoo! This is what we're left with, folks. This is what we're left with. I do like this one. This is something that a lot of people, I know that Great Scott just picked up one of these. There are a lot of people who love the Eagle note. And I have to say, it's nice, but nowhere near as gorgeous as the educational series. It just doesn't have the same level of artistic fervor to it. It just doesn't look the same. And
a lot of people like the funny backs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, they're nice, but this is the 28. This is what happened in 1928. Now, I did a graphic. Let me pull that graphic up real quick. I did another graphic on these. And one of the things, hold on just a sec. I got an email.
Low serial number.
Say again?
That's like the $2 bill. You got a serial number 27 for the educational series.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and look at, so this is the reason I pulled this one up. I have had this image for a long time. My favorite number is 333. My dog died at 333. I have my number when I was doing my certificate of magazine sprinkler service repair in the new Navy construct back in the early 90s. My certification number was 333. So 333 has come up all the time, and this is just it's a really cool piece. Neeby, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. But I keep this number handy just because it's that. A work at location number 333. Oh, that's funny. Dirty water. But again, it's just one of those numbers. I actually enjoy this. Here is a picture. Let me pull this up real quick. This is something that was sent to me. This is an error note talking about that. What do you guys see here?
Not enough. Oh, is it real? Can you tell the digits missing or?
Yeah, it's real. It was just sent to me. Somebody just took it. This is a note that they have.
So the digits just not wore off.
That digit's just missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty neat. Very early series. I can't tell what the date is. I can't tell what that series number is.
Looks like 1914.
That's a very early series. I can't tell what the number is.
Hard to say. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to tell me what the series
number is. It's a Federal Reserve note, so it's probably 74.
It probably is 74, but yeah, it's so again, these, notes are cool. I like this kind of stuff. I haven't really dug into it just because I don't I unfortunately just haven't had the time. I'm still learning coins, but anyway, pretty neat note. So thank you for sending this off. I appreciate that. That was pretty neat. So thanks, bud. I appreciate you sending that off.
That's my ignorance right there, is what does it do for any potential value for this note?
So people collect error notes, right? Just like they collect errors and varieties. And so
some of them can be valuable.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that this is on the high end of valuable, but it definitely is something that is, for people who collect error notes, this is definitely something that somebody would love to see. What's up, Seth? How you doing, bud? Yeah, and again, people love to collect this kind of stuff. I think it's pretty cool.
All right, it's called an obstructed printing error.
Azure is like, I've never seen another note with a missing digit. It's the only collectible note that I have. I think it's cool. And again, I don't know nothing about this. Mike may be able to tell you a little bit more about potential value and stuff like this. But
and so I guess, Frosty, it's not that it was missing. There was something, a piece of debris on there that got 7 printed on it and then blew off of it. That's what it sounds like. They call it an obstructed printing error.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I have no clue what it could be worth.
But cool stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of people who collect this kind of stuff, and again, people collect what they like, and so I have a few notes. They're not really of any value, just because I really haven't dug into it. I've got
50.
one.
All right. That makes sense.
Say again.
Mike said that it would probably be less than 50. That error.
Papa Giorgio says people can take a number 2 pencil and erase these. You'd be able to see that. And
that's what I was wondering by the picture. I couldn't see it.
You'd see where. But this happens. This is not something that's it's going to be a one-off in this particular one, but it's not something that check that out. Metal Matt, you're a stud. He just super chatted $3.33. Oh, that's cool, Metal Matt. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I didn't know you could actually fine tune it that fine. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so neat notes. I mean, they're cool to see, right? And again, it's just what people do, what people collect. I like stuff like this. This is my protector of the community, my holy knuckles.
I would collect something like that because you know me, I collect stuff like that. Weird.
Yeah. But currency is one of those things. If you want to know more about it, I'll reach out. Again, I've been trying to get Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge is extremely busy. And I need to get with him and just say like, hey dude, let's find a time. But when Ashes, hey, what's going on, Ashes? I just saw your name pop through here. How you doing, bud?
I put a useless plug-in. There is a currency red book by Whitman, and it has just been updated basically the same time that the coin one was. It might be a good resource to learn about U.S. currency.
There's a lot of great opportunities to learn, and I just haven't dug into it. It's just not one of those things. I'm still learning coins. I'm trying to work with more protection of the hobby type stuff than really digging into.
He is the author of the red book, I'm pretty sure. But there is a book. Chuck always says this is the main book, and they haven't made it in years, and it's like the Bible for currency. That's why I was going to say, ask Chuck what the name of that book was. But like Mike says, there's probably a different.
Well, the Friedberg book is, I think it's actually referenced as the currency Bible, is it not, Mike? What's up, Sorcerer Stan? I just saw your name in here. I probably said hi to you earlier, but yeah, it is. That's okay. Yeah, so the Friedberg is the currency Bible.
The red book is by Arthur Friedberg and Ira Friedberg.
Yeah, and that's I think I remember seeing that. Big Apple, are you still here? Big Apple Stacker he's got a really cool thing. I actually need to have him on and have him show some of his stuff. I'm going to reach out to him because he has this book, and what he does, it's not the same book. Okay. What he has is he has these book of notes, and he goes through and he's collecting everything in this book. He's trying to collect a really nice one.
The United States Paper Money 8th edition book.
Oh, thanks, Ashes. Appreciate you throwing that in there.
Same authors as the red book.
See, and folks, this is what's cool about this. And I really want you guys to think about some of the people that we have in chat. Right? These are people in your community. These are your peers, right? There's tons of people who know about this stuff. And this is why it's important to come together in various platforms and have these discussions. Again, I'm more about generating network and protecting the community than I am. Now, I like looking at errors and varieties. Don't get me wrong. But I have hard times searching for them sometimes just because of issues that I face when it comes to my eyes, right? And I can't look at it very long and I can't see some stuff. So I've got to do that. Plus, I need to get a better scope. I use my loops all the time. I always keep my loops handy. If you don't have a loop, then you need to definitely do that. But I don't do as many coin searches as I used to, because I'm more about like researching and giving you guys information, and then we can have discussions and kind of dig into stuff. So that's kind of what I like to do. And again, it's more hobby protection, more community protection. I want you guys to be well informed so that you can make better decisions. And then go to people like Ashes, who does a lot of stuff, and I need to have Ashes on. Ashes has just updated his Antietam on his $50. I've got to work on my $50 series some more. And he's got an amazing $50 collection, just absolutely gorgeous. I need to have him up. So I got a lot of stuff that I need to be doing and having people in the community to talk about some of their stuff. So Ashes, we still need to coordinate that one time. We've talked about it a number of times. We just never made it happen. But I want to continue to bring you guys people that have some amazing things. And I've been very blessed in this hobby to have been surrounded with a number of people who just are extremely knowledgeable. And I look at the people who are on panel quite frequently on this channel, and there's just a wealth of knowledge. So I've been blessed in that. Frosty, I would love to see you discuss the Japanese shoe. Just started collecting breach PCMs with Japanese wife, has been helping me read the coins. The Japanese shoe, if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about the samurai, the coins that were done, the samurai that they put on the belts. Yeah, we can talk about those. Are the rectangular ones. When I was in Japan, I learned a little bit about those. They are really cool. I do have a couple friends that collect those. So yeah, I can definitely do something on the shoe. I'll need about a week or two to do some more research on it. But yeah, certainly. Yeah, I love Japanese history. I was stationed, so for those of you that don't know, I spent time in Sasebo and Yokosuka. And vote for Pedro. Mike says he has somebody who makes Japanese content. Leanna Spurrier. Outstanding. Mike, let's make a connection. Maybe we can have her on. Let's talk about that. Yeah, vote for Pedro and I have talked quite a bit. Vote for Pedro and I both have a definite love for money and stuff like this. So, yeah, you guys, and again, send me ideas. Right, we'll work with people and we'll get those people on and we'll have those discussions. So send me those ideas because again, this channel is to help and to benefit you, right? I can do the stuff that I want to do that. Yeah, Mike, let's have that discussion if you don't mind. I think that would be phenomenal. I am a huge fan of Japanese history and swords and the samurai, some of the depictions that happened and, understanding what the role of the shogun was and how the shogun lost power to the emperor during the time of the democratic takeover, the imperial shift, and how the shogun and the samurai used to be the protectors to the emperor, and then ended up being outcast and laden and destroyed. Next week, hey, yeah, anytime Aaron's ready, it's locked for Aaron. Yeah, so if we want to do Aaron Burke next weekend, I am all for that. Just give me a couple days so I can get the stuff up there and make some announcements. I am going to push that one through other channels. So I'm going to be pushing, when Aaron Burke's on, I'm going to be pushing that through the professional side of things like LinkedIn and stuff like that. So
it looks like most of Leanne's videos go through the numismatic portal also.
Yeah. Azure, I did a video on the Binion Horde.
He did. I remember that. Yeah.
It's a fun video. You should go watch that. I'm going to do some more talk about that. I've had a number of people talk about this. I actually had Daryl USA came in and said that he had a couple Binion Horde collection coins. We're actually going to talk about those. So yeah, definitely. I actually just talked to Steve looking for silver as well, regarding keeping an eye out for a Binion, because the Binion's one of those Horde coins that I'm looking for. I just don't have yet. So there are people out there, and again, you guys know me, and I love my Hordes. The stories behind them. Not all Hordes are created equal, by the way.
No, there's been some good ones. I remember when the Omaha Bank Horde. Remember when that came out? I ended up getting a bunch of rolls of dimes out of that.
Yeah, I would love to. I Not next week. Yeah. So again, it doesn't matter. Whenever, um, the fourth weekend of July. Okay. Yeah. No worries. We'll coordinate. You and I will talk. We got our numbers. We'll send some information. We'll talk about that. We'll coordinate it accordingly.
He'll have his people reach out to your people.
Yeah. Exactly. But when that happens, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do, because I'm going to utilize that not only for um, people to come check out the channel, hear what's going on, but I'm gonna advertise Aaron Burke through my channel. So I want to make sure I have some stuff up and really push Harlan J. Burke. I want to have some graphics put together for that. So I'll want to know exactly what's going on because, like I said, I'm going to be putting that on LinkedIn and stuff like that because I'm going to be pushing. I want people when I have people who take their time out that are experts in that field. I'm going to push their channels hard. And so when he comes on, I want to make sure I have all that information because he deserves it. I mean, you look at what is 270,000, almost 300,000 people. It's important to get some of those people.
It is overwhelming
engaged.
and great information. Like I say, if you like gold coins, some of the gold coins that he talks about, it just blows you away. Like I say, the Greek gold coins are amazing.
I see Discord is going nuts. Unfortunately, I can't open it right now. Freaking Awesome just sent me a link to a little video that he did regarding one of his bills. You can put that in if you want to. Over 300,000 now. Wow. His channel's growing like massive, man. It's insane. I can't open up Discord right now, Dirty Water. I pulled it up and it kicked me right back out. Not sure what's going on, and I can't pull that up. It's on my computer. I'm getting it might be because of my VPN. Discord doesn't like my VPN sometimes. But I will download that and I'll put it on the community page. We can talk about some of those things. Have discussion on it. I'll take Smog's Horde, please. Yeah, wouldn't that be fun? What's the Moria? They went through Moria. What was the name of that? Under the Mountain, King Under the Mountain. Yeah, I definitely got that reference. After law school, I applied for a job to be a legal counsel at Binion, and I met Ted. Oh, so my mom was a dealer in Vegas during all that tenure in that timeline back just before I was born, and as I was a little kid. Worked in Vegas, and some of the pit bosses and the people that she knew were they were characters. Some dangerous people. I joke with my mom, I need to have her on and tell some of the Vegas stories that she has. It's insane. My mom has a really wild history. So yeah, the Binions, having lived in Utah for a number of years, and then, knowing what my mom did, the Binions have been a big thing. I also did one on Redfield, but go check out the Horde videos. They're a lot of fun. So, well, very cool. Any other questions? We've got about 10 more minutes before I decide to wrap stuff up. Oh, Jackalope's got dad jokes. There's one for you, Mike. He was fired from his new job at the ice cream shop yesterday. He told them he couldn't do Sundays. There you go. There's the dad joke for you, Mike. There's your dad joke of the day. So yeah, we got the Japanese coin that's there that we're going to be looking at for Vote for Pedro. And again, when you do that, Vote for Pedro, send me a text message or an email, and let's do that. Hey, Coach, what's going on, bud? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming in. I always appreciate your support, bud. Coach has getting to know Coach was probably one of the coolest things that ever happened on my channel. And that was being able to look at and live identify a flowing hair coin, or not flowing hair, was it flowing hair? It was. It was a flowing hair cent, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wicked cool. So much fun to be able to do that. That was by far one of the coolest episodes. And I owe that to Jackalope Herdmaster and Coach for allowing me, Paula, Eric, and Half Cent. Yeah, there you go. Phenomenal. That was so much fun. Being able to look at things and have the conversation and go through and actually see what happened. And yeah, go ahead. Send me some information. We'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll work with Mike. And then we'll see if we can't coordinate some time to get with Liana Spurrier. He put in, Eric put in that link. I'm going to drop that in again in chat. So if you want to know that link is there for Liana. And we'll see if we can't coordinate some time because again, the more, and Mike, and anytime I open this up to any of the staff that you work with, Harlan J. Burke, anytime any of the folks in your business area want to come up and talk about a specific topic, you guys have an open, like you guys are literally open book. You tell me when you want to come in, I'll schedule you. You guys are good. Because the quality of craftsmanship when it comes to this hobby, the knowledge level, the stuff that they get to see, they're amazing. They're phenomenal people. And I want to do anything I can to support Harlan J. Burke and their designs on being. No, I'm serious though. Again, the purpose of this is networking. And when you have somebody who has the opportunity to present a number of people who are considered experts in the field, look at the relationships and the people that I've got to connect with through Eric and Chuck, right? You look at their friends and some of the collections they have. There's one in particular, Brian, right? Oh my God. I remember Eric texted me one time and he's like, hey, they were sitting around, they were drinking beers. And he sent me a picture. They were opening up a box and Brian handed everyone. Brian handed him this one thing and he opened up he pulled up 2 coins out of this. And I was like, oh, I don't think I could hold that. And Eric was like, no, I don't think I want to hold that.
And they literally were tossing them around the kitchen back and forth.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh my God, there's a couple $100,000 worth of coins there. Like, holy cow. Like, this is unreal. So in this hobby, and there's other people that don't like to talk about what they have, and for security reasons, I absolutely understand that. I can't just go grab stuff because I don't keep most of my stuff is not on site.
People don't keep their valuables.
I don't keep my stuff on site. So I have to have this stuff. Like I went and grabbed this yesterday because I knew I wanted to show this because we were having a conversation about John Wick and the Holy Knuckles. And, I'd love to have something for the Holy Hand Grenade and stuff like that. But you should have Russ talk about, oh, okay. Now, I don't know who Russ is, but we're talking Christian Gobrecht. We're done. It's a golden deal.
Yeah. And actually, Russ doesn't have to talk about anything. If Paula's here, Paula will talk about Russ. Every time his name comes up, she's like, ooh, boy, we got to get him on here.
Yeah. Coach. So when he's talking about grading that half cent, absolutely, this is one I definitely would send off, right? There are certain coins. Oh, I know who Russ Bega is. Yeah. But what I'm saying is when you talk, so I love Christian Gobrecht, and the reason was because of not only his designs. I like the stuff that he did. I like the stuff that he does as an artist, but he did so much amazing stuff for growing and adapting the mint that I'm amazed at the stuff that he was able to accomplish when you're talking about group setting the numbers and going in from individual numbers to, doing 2 sets and 3 sets. So 2 on 2, a 3 on 1. We're talking about the dates. So they only had to, change one specific number. And then why did you have 2-digit dates? And why did you have 3-digit over dates? And why do these things exist? And being able to explain the errors and what was happening during that time frame. There were so many amazing things that happened during Christian Gobrecht's time frame that it's a fabulous time in numismatic history. And I love that stuff. So I would absolutely, for my own personal giddy moment, I would love to have Russ Vega on and talk about that kind of stuff. So we'll definitely talk. We'll chat and coordinate some stuff. And yeah, again, Harlan J. Burke has an open invitation on my channel. So, oh, you're just mean. Okay, hold on.
At the U.S. Mint, I don't buy from the U.S. Mint.
You guys see that picture? That was just sent to me by Mike. 1909 gold. Holy hell. MS62 1910, MS61 1908. Oh, and this isn't just an 8. Check this one out. That's the 8/7. Damn, dude. Yeah, nice. Azure's like, Ben. Let's see. And again, folks, this is what's cool about this, right? And being able to network with these folks and have these people bring you the fascinating stuff. Go subscribe to Copper Coins. Go subscribe to Aaron Burke. Go subscribe to Coin Show Podcast. Go to subscribe to Ancient Coins with Aaron Burke and what him and Mike do. Go check out Matt's channel. And you're going to have to help me remember. I can never remember Matt's channel. For some reason, I have such a hard time remembering his coin show, his coin shop. I don't know why that
Flying
is.
Dutchman.
Flying Dutchman. There you go. Well, what always gets me, and it always kicks me in the butt, is I'm a ship guy, right? The pirate coins, the ship, the Flying Dutchman. It's a famous ship. I don't know why. I can never freaking remember that. It drives me mad. But there's some amazing people and some amazing items up here. So I want to share those with you guys. But yeah, that's definitely a beaut. But he, again, just anytime any of you guys want to come over, Harlan J. Burke has a standing invite. We can coordinate. We can do some stuff. I'll be more than happy to do that. And I appreciate your willingness, Mike, to share information and to do that. So much love, brother. I appreciate it. But please go check out the Coin Show Podcast. Are you guys doing something? What do you guys have planned this week? Do you know? We'll do a plug, obviously, again tomorrow.
Sounds like he's sick. I know he was sick on the last broadcast. I actually enjoyed the last one. I made the whole thing the last time instead of coming in at the end like I usually do.
Hey, vote for Pedro. Is that African or European?
We're off. All right, they're off this week, Frosty.
Okay. So I do want to plug next Thursday. Next Thursday, if you guys like American history, I want you to attend. I'm going to be doing a very special 4th of July discussion. Now, this 4th of July discussion is going to be a very in-depth discussion about it's going to be called From Settlement to Self-Rule, and it's about our journey to American independence. It's going to talk about the importance of the 4th of July. It's going to talk about our nation. And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to give you the lead in, excuse me, to the thing that I'm going to be discussing. If you guys are up for it, I will go ahead and tell that. But I've been working on this for a month. Indeed, I am. They call him. Tim.
Flying Dutchman. It's the Lost Dutchman.
Oh, the Lost Dutchman. Okay. So I'm going to read you this. This is going to be my intro to July 3rd's live stream, and I'm going to be putting that out after Sunday. But the 4th of July, obviously, is to celebrate the United States independence. It's a momentous day where our brave leader signed a document declaring freedom. Now, the cherished freedom wasn't easily won. It was a culmination of a long, challenging journey that began many, many years before. There were first courageous Europeans who crossed the vast ocean. It was an untamed land. And the narrative that I'm going to be providing next week is going to talk about the various events, choices, battles, step by step, to go over a long distance of colonies to unite themselves and declare themselves a brand new nation. To compel a story of perseverance, courage, growth, and a desire for self-rule. But what does that mean? Well, the American path to independence wasn't a sudden burst of rebellion, but organic evolution. See, the very act of colonization and the unique experiences encountered within our new continent, which wasn't our new continent, it was one that we happened to cross. The early settlers faced immense challenges and far removed the direct oversight from the British Crown. But it wasn't just the British Crown that caused issues. See, our own forms of self-governance. And if it wasn't for the support of the indigenous population, our nation may have never took hold. But the gradual process was just that. It was adapting to the environment, managing lands, to establish affairs, foster a distinct identity, a deep-seated appreciation for our own local government. The growing to self-reliance, born out of necessity, would inevitably clash with the British government because they wanted to exert more centralized authority. And that set the stage for the dramatic events that would unfold over the next century and a half. So again, this is just an intro. I'm creating a short about this, and that was kind of the draft of what I'm going to be talking about. I've spent a lot of time on this, going from Roanoke and the birth of Jamestown in 1607, talking about the various hardships and early colonial history, talking about the Padawan. We talked about this with Vote for Pedro, about some of the names that are there, Chief Padawan, and what happened with opportunities that were established. And if it wouldn't have been for him and the relationship of Captain John Smith, we might not have a nation. Looking at the Pilgrim's journey and what fallacies, as well as some of the things that we know are in place. Looking at the expansion, early encounters of pioneers. We're looking at the ironic parody of colonial success and how the defeat of the French in the War of 1812 would actually help us to establish our own identity. Ironically, the defense of the French would ultimately help serve us in the American Revolution. So it was ironic on how we could have a French-Indian War, very costly, the War of 1812, and then turn around and have other battles. Then we would talk about taxation, right? And what happened and how that affected us and what happened and why the nationale of the British government wasn't taken well here, and why we argued vehemently with the effort to impose taxation without representation. And it wasn't taxation itself. It was without the ability to represent ourselves in the form of those taxes. We'll talk about the Townsend Act. We'll talk about the various committees. We'll talk about the Declaration of Independence, and then we'll talk about the Boston Massacre and the blood in the snow and the firing of the shots across the bridge that would stem our nation into a number of years of conflict, ultimately yielding the Declaration of Independence in 1774. And then at the end of this, as we go through and we continue to talk about the welfare and stuff like this, at the very end, I'm going to actually read the Declaration of Independence and kind of clarify the difference between what the Declaration of Independence is and the Constitution. So it's going to be a very long live stream. I'm expecting between 3 and 4 hours. You obviously don't have to be there for the entire time, but I really want to drive home the core values of our nation. And why was this educational thing so important to me that when we're talking about the educational series notes? It's because this was something that our founding fathers wanted us to understand. They wanted us to remember where our nation came from, the good, bad, the ugly, and to not make the same mistakes that have been repeated throughout history with other civilizations. So again, I hope that you'll join me on July 3rd into July 4th. It's going to be a little bit later in the evening, and it's going to be a long one. But you can watch it at your leisure, and I hope you'll join me. I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll be a lot of fun. With that being said, I think I'm done for the day. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Eric? You guys doing any reveals?
Nope. My next reveal's tomorrow about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay, perfect. We'll remind everybody tomorrow. Mike, I hope you get feeling better, brother. I hope that whatever crap of congestion you have gets feeling better, and you're able to recover quickly. And look, folks, again, if you have Paula's information, reach out to Paula and let her know that you're thinking about her. They're going to have a pretty rough day today as they go to this celebration of life. Freaking awesome. Great show, brother. I appreciate that. For, again, a number of subscribers today. I appreciate all the subscribers. Super chats today. Thank you so much. The gifted of 5 memberships. Eric, thank you again for that. I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate all your support. And again, you want to support the channel, go watch the videos. That's the best way to do it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Be well, be blessed, and I will see you in the stream.